Sunday the 5th of February 1995. I climbed off the bus at the ferry building in San Francisco and wandered off along the Embarcadero, looking for the YMCA. It was very quiet and nobody was around. I walked along in the dark, thinking that the YMCA should be coming up soon, but there was no sign of it. And after walking for about 25 minutes, I saw some people with a dog, and they were not sure but had an idea that it was back from where I'd come from. So I turned round and started walking back to the ferry building where I began. I'd been walking in totally the wrong direction. Getting my bearings straight, I discovered that the YMCA was only a few minutes' walk in the other direction. Unfortunately, when I arrived, it was closed, but a friendly bus driver told me that there was another YMCA, and so I looked it up and phoned to check it was still open. Luckily it was, and they reserved me a room. Unfortunately, I needed to take a bus to get to the YMCA, and it didn't go all the way. When I got off the bus, it was about 11 p.m, and I was just totally confused about which way to go. With a look of desperate anguish, I looked around and saw the bus driver pointing down a rather uninviting road. Dark and seedy, with the odd shady character. But I ploughed on until I thankfully reached the YMCA. My room was on the 7th floor, and when I exhaustedly stretched out onto the bed, I felt like I'd reached heaven. Well, I had been on a train for 2.5 days. I had a shower and sat on the window ledge looking out into the cool air over the city lights of San Francisco. Monday the 6th of February 1995. There was a feeling of goodwill in the air today. Entering the lift, I travelled down with the porter to claim my breakfast, a muffin and a glass of milk. The elderly lady from the canteen was teaching the guests ballroom dancing. Most everyone was cheerful at the YMCA, and I walked out into the morning air with a smile on my face. San Francisco looked far more inviting in the daylight, and it felt like the YMCA must have up and moved streets in the night. I started to explore, quickly encountering many eccentrics of the city. A man was singing into an invisible microphone, a Joni Mitchell song.
And we got to get ourselves back to the car.
He sang to the cars as they waited at red lights. All was well. Tuesday the 7th of February. I went into bookshops and galleries today, feeling the life of the city, more alive and artistic than anywhere I'd been so far on my travels across America. I stopped off at the City Lights Bookstore, a hangout place for some of the famous beat poets. I bought 2 handmade photocopied books by William D. White, Clarinet Marmalade and North Beach Jazz. Walking up some extremely steep hills, I stopped to draw and feeling inspired to think up some of my own poems along the way. I went to Pier 39 where you can be entertained by seals and looked across to Alcatraz thinking I must go there at some point, and later to Pier 45 and Fisherman's Wharf. There's also this brilliant penny arcade called Musée Mécanique where you can play on all the vintage arcade attractions, put in your quarters, arm wrestle the machines, see executions, see the spooky graveyard ghouls, laughing automata, and have your fortune told. Wednesday the 8th of February. I went to the Art of Star Wars exhibition at the Centre for the Arts. It had thousands of models and costumes, props and drawings, all the genuine articles. At the restaurant you could buy Jabba the hot dogs and Princess Leia cakes. Following the exhibition I went to the cinema to see The Day the Earth Stood Still, a classic science fiction film from 1951. As I was leaving, I overheard some elderly ladies comment, "That was the best Star Trek I've ever seen." Thursday the 9th of February. Went for a very long walk through Golden Gate Park. It was sunny and lovely, full of museums and other interesting places. I went to Alamo Square with a famous view of the houses on the hill where everyone walks their dogs. Most evenings, on the street outside the Stratford Hotel where I'm staying, there is live music. Tonight, a guy is playing his cool saxophone. Right now, a jazz version of My Favourite Things. The fire escape is right outside my room, and there's an axe and a sign that says, "In case of fire, break door." So I'll know if there's a fire, because everyone will come piling through my room. Friday the 10th of February. Went to see the crookedest street in the world, Lombard Street. It's funny watching the cars navigate this steep and winding road. I recorded the clacking sound as they whined round the corners. Apparently, making Lombard Street snake down like this reduces the incline from 27 to 16 degrees. Saturday the 11th of February. Today is Chinese New Year. I've been excitedly waiting for this day. The Chinese New Year parade in San Francisco is probably the largest in the world. Chinatown is bustling with stalls selling fruit and flowers, vases stacked to the ceiling. There are red and yellow banners, silk lanterns hanging and multitudes of china ornaments, as well as free things. Free laminating, free pencils, free packets of cereal, nut clusters. Hello, have a green leaflet, have a blue keyring, have a balloon, have a spoonful of ginseng. Happy New Year! There are events going on all day. Giant walking puppets with feet of human proportions, lion dancing and torn open red envelopes of gold writing littering the pavements. I tried lots of different Chinese food and wandered around happily listening to traditional music, drawing and picking up the shiny ephemera for my sketchbook collages. As it began to get dark, I waited for the parade to start, taking my place near the front, behind the barrier. It's the year of the pig. People everywhere are clamouring for space. Men wheel by trolleys of inflatable hammers, spacemen and horns. Kids pull at their parents to buy them things, much to their mother's despair. Then I hear the sound of drums and firecrackers in the distance. There is the faint stamping of hundreds of feet. I stand on tiptoes to see the head of the parade coming larger and louder. Then, at last, the floats are in sight. Small children wearing masks, carrying pigs and lanterns, and immense illuminated dragons, dancing and twisting, chasing a golden ball, a pearl, dragon after dragon, golden, red and glowing, tossing, snapping tassels. A red cable car trundles by, adorned with lanterns. Martial artists swing swords and staffs fly in unison. An exuberant brass band runs and stops and plays and runs and stops and plays to keep up with the parade. It looks exhausting. People reach to touch the skirts of the flowing dragons so prettily lit from inside, all controlled by a huge team of people working in unison. Poetry in motion. There are spinning fireworks lighting the surrounding buildings and the sound of firecrackers reverberating off every smooth surface. A lady holds her ears and steps back in fright. Smoke slowly rises and is quickly dashed aside by a new dragon flowing between the crowds. But it's the final dragon moving past, and I don't want it to be over. I run down the street through the streams of coloured papers, the day's festivities coming to rest on the floor. I catch up, just to see the last dragon for the last time, just to make the last of the parade last that little bit longer, to see it to the very end. Happy New Year.